Heyo, Hudson here with Planet 4 Gaming. I'm flying the Spitfire F Mark 14E. That's the first Griffin variant you get access to. And I can tell you it is a lot different from the Merlin variants that you would have been flying up until unlocking this plane. It is much faster, better at high altitude, and a little bit worse in the turn time area. It has a good armament, 2 Hispanos and 2 Browning 50 cals. For the guns, I like to use default machine gun belts and air target cannon belts. The air target cannon belts are all stealth rounds, so the MGs with tracers will help you aim, while you still get the advantage of having the most damage output possible with the cannons. So, yeah, what about how this plane performs? Well, like I said, it's not amazing in turns, so you gotta kind of change your strategy from previous Spitfire variants. It's best to try to climb up to at least 6,000 meters and dive in on your enemies. And one thing you gotta watch out for is in the latest update they added G-lock, so you can black out and lose control of your plane. That is pretty common in this plane since you're going to have to do a lot of high-speed maneuvers. So it's good to upgrade that crew skill and kind of just be aware of what you're doing when you're making these types of maneuvers. Don't pull too hard or you're gonna lose control. I have crashed a few times from that, but more often it's the amount of time you're not able to maneuver, the enemy is just gonna shoot you down. So yeah, be mindful of that. And it's not like this plane is terrible when it comes to turning, especially if you use the landing flaps kind of strategically. You can outturn a good amount of the planes you'll go up against. It's about even with the 109s without landing flaps, and slightly better with them deployed. Much better than the Focke-Wulf 190. The Bearcat is a very maneuverable plane that will give you a run for your money, so yeah, it can keep up with most things it goes up against, and a few planes like the 109 G2 it's just far better than. So with that said, we'll just get into a game and see how this plane does. Okay, so now I'm on a full game in Norway, and after climbing to 4,000 meters I noticed this 109 in the distance. Went into a fake head-on with him, rolled it out of the way. Didn't do a great job of that. He did manage to hit me a bit, but either his 30mm cannon sparked or he only hit me with the machine guns, which are notoriously awful on German fighters, so either way, no problem for me, no damage. So now I'm going to try and get him to overshoot. He had a lot of speed built up, but he did a pretty good job of bleeding it, because he's still on my tail. But I'm just going to try and use the landing flaps and this plane's turn time and roll rate to lose some speed and get him in front of me so I can get a shot on him. And the Spitfire is pretty good for that. The K4 is a very maneuverable fighter, especially in the last update. They really buffed it quite a bit. But the Spitfire is still competitive there. It can definitely handle it. So this other pilot's been doing a pretty good job of staying behind me, but he's starting to overshoot, as you can see here. Not very good aim on my part. Didn't pull enough lead, and I was just aiming above his right wing, so no shots landed there, but I'm now on a 6 and I can follow his turning circle here, and I can get right on his 6, line him up, get his elevators, and that'll be it for him. Yep, there he goes. He's not going to be pulling out of that anytime soon. And first kill of the game. So, now I gotta try and kind of find where the enemy is. They've only lost a few planes, and my team's lost quite a few, so it shouldn't be too hard. The main thing is going to be finding a good target for me that's either below me or at a low enough energy state that I can take him on. Same altitude or above me, if only slightly. If a 109 is far above me, like 1,000 meters above, I'm not going to want to fly towards that. But it looks like I have a few friendlies in the area still, so I might have a bit of support. I can see this 109 Viper here is at roughly my altitude, so I might want to try and fly towards that, even though there's a P-51 on him, just so I can keep an eye on what's going on. But there's two far above and behind, and they're probably going to make a move sometime soon, so I gotta be wary of those. There's one below me as well climbing up, so I gotta dodge him. And as I dodge him, one of the ones that was above me starts diving in, so at this point I kind of realize I've got to get out of there. So I dive down, get my speed up, and I'm gonna head towards the island that has our bombing point, because there's a lot of AAA in that area, from cargo ships, destroyers, and ground-based AAA, so I'll have cover there, and you'll see there's a P-51 in the area, so good idea on my part. So what happens now might be a little bit controversial. I see the P-51 engaging the 190. Obviously the 190 has not gone down. It is at low energy, but I don't know if it's damaged or going down or whatever. It seems to be flying fine. So I'm just going to get shots in and take it out, because I'm dragging in one or two 109s, and I'm not going to I'm not going to leave that variable in the area. If that 190 is still in a good fighting shape, he could easily turn the situation around and take out me or the P-51. So that is my logic there. I didn't know the situation. The P-51 pilot seemed to be pretty sure of himself that he would have gotten that kill, but not the way it turned out for him. So anyway, now we gotta work on taking out this 109. It's a G2. I'd say an inferior plane to both the P-51 and the Spitfire, but it is very maneuverable, and at a low speed, low altitude engagement like this, it can be a pretty dangerous plane. So the situation does not get any better for me or the P-51 here. Anyway, I go into the vertical to get a shot on the G2, and he takes out the P-51. I get the kill about 3 seconds later. This is where I definitely don't see this guy's argument at all. I mean, I can see why he'd be pissed, but he made some pretty bad errors there in engaging the 109. He was much too aggressive in his turn fighting. Should have used his plane's speed advantage, vast speed advantage, and that's not what he did. That's what I was doing. I was taking large diving passes with big kind of sweeping turns, not trying to get in a tight turning dogfight with the 109, and that's what the P-51 should have done, but it wasn't what he did. He wasn't playing it safe. He was probably getting a little bit greedy, especially after getting his kill somewhat stolen by me. So yeah, that was all on him. I take no responsibility for that. Anyway, I'm the last plane on the team. It's pretty grim at this point. I think they have 3 or 4 planes left. One of them might be a bomber, so maybe 3 109s, 190s. It's bad. But right now it's just the one that has spotted me, but obviously he's going to be radioing in to his teammates to report my location, and they'll be here soon. But I got to take this guy out quick, because It's much easier to take on one plane, obviously, than it is to take on 3, or however many. So, he's diving in. I kind of turn somewhat perpendicular to him to close the gap, and then pull a split S, dodges initial attack run. And I'm going to do the same kind of maneuvering tactics I used on the K4 at the beginning of this game. Working pretty well so far. Obviously I didn't do that on the last G2 I took out because I had the support of that P-51 and I had it absorbing fire for me at the end there. But I don't have this luxury now, so I have to use a turn fighting if I want to take him out quick. And he's starting to overshoot. The Spitfire is a little bit better at keeping that low speed maneuverability than the 109 is. The 109 also is not as good at bleeding speed, and that's kind of where he went wrong. After that dive he made, he should have just kind of zoomed away, but he tried to turn back and do something, I don't know. And that was his end. So, 2 more coming in. Once again, I'm going to fly towards that island as a last-ditch effort, but it does not go well for me here. I think both of these are G2s as well. And that is a lower battle rating fighter. But it's not bad. I mean, in this situation especially, it's a very maneuverable 109. Faster than the F series, and it has that Mk.XIVe, which is a very effective weapon. One of the biggest fuck-ups I made here was using landing flaps for too long and ripping the flap off. That, and missing there too. Yeah, that was a really big mistake. On British fighters like the Spitfire and the Typhoon, Tempest, flaps will rip off at a pretty low speed. They're more likely to rip from extending all the way than from being at a high speed, you know what I mean? It has a very long period of them extending, and once they extend to a certain point, if you're above 200 kilometers per hour, they're probably going to rip off. So you gotta really watch your flaps when you're landing, when you're maneuvering with them, because they will fuck you up more than flaps on any other nation's planes. But as you can see, I'm just pretty much in my death throes at this point. That G6, yeah, one is actually a G6, is right on my tail, rips my wing off. So that's it for me. Rip Hudson. But I got four kills. One was obviously that easy, effortless kill steal, in quotes. I don't really count it as a steal because the plane was still in decent shape, it looked like, and I didn't really know what shape it was in. That kill was a precautionary measure primarily, and that's just the nature of how you play the game. Sometimes that's gonna happen to me, I don't bitch about it. So anyway, that's a Spitfire Mark 14. Pretty fun plane to fly. I'm not too experienced with it yet at this point, but I do enjoy it. I've unlocked the Tempest too, if you were wondering, since this game. It is a good plane. It's not overpowered, as some would say. It's at a 5.3. I'd say that's where it belongs. You could bump it up to a 5.7 and it would probably be good still. Hispanos are good. Top speed good. Not much of a diver. It gets to the 740 range, and that's as far as you want to go. So yeah, that's about it. Sorry this video took so long to upload. I was studying for exams the past several weeks, done with school for now, so hopefully I'll be able to upload once every week and a half or so. Maybe do some other different games. And if you got any questions, leave them below. I'll try to answer them, same as every video. And that'll be it. This has been Hudson with P4G. Thank you for watching, and get the fuck out of here.